you could technically buy more than one whole life insurance policy, right? And so, as opposed to maybe phasing something in over 7 years, would you be able to take a lump sum and distribute it across policies sort of laterally?
Absolutely. Yep. And it's interesting you mentioned that. Joe Biden, I use him in a lot of my presentations right now because it's so timely. His personal financial disclosure from 2011, which I always show when I talk to real estate groups, it shows he has 6 of these. So he has 6 whole life insurance policies. And he lists them on his financial disclosure under assets and income.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And so getting back to, say, someone who's putting in $200 a year or a month for $2,400 a year, when it comes time for them to use that as sort of liquid capital, how are they only allowed to take out $2,400 for the year? Or I feel like there's at least a 2-year buy-in period before you're able to take any capital out. Is that something I've heard that's correct?
Well, it is true that in the beginning years of the policy's life, you won't have 100% liquidity. So let's just say you put in $2,400 this year. It's hard to narrow it down to specific numbers, but I'm going to say you're going to have access to anywhere between 0% of that and 70% of that, depending on how you built that policy. And there's a reason for that that's kind of in the weeds, but I'll try to high level it here and just say you can structure these. There's a lot of flexibility in how you would structure a policy for yourself. And depending on if your primary goal is to have early cash value so that you can access cash right away, or if your highest priority is as much tax-free retirement income as you can get, depending on the sliding scale of those priorities, that's going to determine how you structure it. If you structure a policy to optimize it for as much tax-free retirement income as you can, then you're actually going to buy more death benefit up front, which means you're going to have less cash value up front. Because having the more death benefit up front gives you more room to grow that policy over the years and essentially accumulate more long-term. If you want to optimize it to have as much cash value up front where you would have like 70% of your cash available in year one, you can do that. You're just buying a lot less death benefit, which gives you a lot less bandwidth over the long term, so that by the time you get to 65, the account's going to be a lot smaller than it would have been if you'd have bought more. So there's kind of a balancing act that's done there. And so I always, again, when I'm working with clients and helping people with this strategy, we're always kind of looking at, okay, here's what this does if your priority is income. Here's what this does if your priority is early cash. And so you can structure the asset a number of different ways. But to directly answer your question now, bring it all back around, Heath, from month 1, you can actually have cash available from month 1. It's not going to be 100% of what you've put in because there's a cost of insurance in there, and you're covering that cost of insurance in the early years of the policy's life. Once you get past about year 10, at that point, the thing continues to grow and to snowball to where, like for me, I started mine when I was in my 30s. So when I get to my 60s, for every dollar I'm putting into it, I'm going to be seeing $5 to $8 back, just depending on how it grows and compounds over the years.